it starts to fade. It starts to fade, and it's like the celebrity or trendsetter feels like they need to like start something new. So I thought that was really
Mhm.
interesting.
We're going to get into the whole trickle up, trickle down, trickle across. How does it happen? How does it go from the streets and up? But I'm glad you picked up on that, because truly things pop out of nowhere and they have their entire life cycle. But yeah, once it's everywhere, do you still want it? That's the question. They're kind of tired of it. So thanks for sharing about the trickle down effect. And that's how fashion works. It continuously, that's the one thing we know for certain about fashion. It's always going to evolve. John, thank you so much. John, what kind of nugget did you love from this chapter that you want to talk about?
So like continuing on to like trend forecasting, how like slow and fast fashion, like how celebrities and like a bunch of influencers also have like a big effect on this, because if like something like a big company comes out with a certain product and like the like trend in a way like goes away because something came up, then like it's just like a waste in a way, because they have to keep either way like in a way keep like evolutionizing like their trends. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. Trends come, they go. So you have to stay on top of it. Trends come, they go. They have to stay on top of it. How do they do that? How do they keep the cycle going? Does anybody else have something from the chapter that when you were leaping through, you want to share, or something that was just so cool in the news that you can't wait to talk about? Any hands going up? Okay. So thank you so much. We'll plan for next week's, who's going to share 2 nuggets next week at the end. But let's do, I love this quote. I just wanted to share it. There's beauty in everything. What normal people perceive as ugly, I can usually see something of beauty in it, by Alexander McQueen. And I think that's very relevant when it comes to trends. People are always thinking that something new might be weird, something new might be uncomfortable, whether it's hush puppies to Crocs. Things that are new are a little bit uncomfortable, but it's the early adopters, the innovators, the designers. You're going to see the beauty in it, and you're going to figure out how to make it cool. And that is what we see again and again and again. It's that new adopters, that creation, whether it's punk or some funky street fashion. People get used to the traditional, the mass market is used to the traditional, the things that they know, but you're there not to find what people already know. You're there to find things that are different and unique, things that people don't necessarily know about. Okay, let's play a little game. This is from the news. Who knows who is this designer, past, current, and who is he replacing? Do you guys want to use the chat, or do you want to raise your hands? Just everybody take off your mic and your mute, and just who's going to say it first? Who knows who this is?
I can't remember his name, but he's going to be the new creative director of Gucci. If I'm not.
You got it. What's his name? Who knows his name?
It's killing me. I know it. I literally just saw an Instagram post about this.
Where's he coming from?
He's coming from Valentino.
You got it. Okay, so it's Sabato De Sarno. Big news this week. I think some of you, those of you who finished your homework, the question was, well, who is he replacing? So Gucci hires behind the scenes designer from Valentino as creative director. So who is he replacing?
Alessandra Michelle.
You got it. Okay, that's the big news of the week. Okay, quick. So for those of you who read the chapter, okay, let's play a little game. Fad or trend? Number A, the coming together of a demographic, economic, political, and social and psychological, economic, political, social, psychological, and environmental influences that is long lasting and substantial. Would you guess fad or trend?
Trend.
Got it. Okay, so fashion that takes up with great enthusiasm for a brief period of time. Fad or trend?
Fad.
Got it. Okay, so here. So for those of you who read the chapter, we've got the fashion trend theories, and we're going to get all of this into the actual when we go knee deep in the lesson. But street style, we're going street style, upper income, street to upper income. high fashion, okay, is that trickle across, trickle up, trickle down, high fashion and luxury to the street, or fashion and all fashion and social levels? Okay, number 1 is street style to upper income. Trickle up, trickle down, trickle across.
Trickle across.
Okay, next, who else wants to take a crack? Nadia, can you get this one?
Trickle up?
Say that again, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is it trickle up?
Trickle up, starting from the street, going up. High fashion and luxury to the street. That's what you just talked about.
Trickle down.
How? Say that again? What was your answer? I didn't hear. Millie, do you
Trickle
want to
down.
take trickle down? You got
Sorry.
it. It's going from the street down. Okay, so fashion in all social levels. What's the one left? Carolina.
That's a trickle across.
You got it. You like it. I like it. Let's all go shopping together. You inspire me. I inspire you. That's what's going on here. Okay. So now in fashion, it's important to look back in time at what's been happening with the trends to stay ahead for future ideas, products, and services. Why is this important? Who wants to go for this one? Noor.
Two.
Okay, you read the answer, and then Alexis, sorry, you go next. Number 2, understand the trend drivers and how socioeconomic trends are being reinterpreted, of course. And Alexis, do you want to add to this? Why is the past of fashion important as we go forward into the future?
Because it always like comes back around in some way. It might not come back in the same exact way, but like be inspired by something and create something new.
You got it. So 3, every trend has its ancestry somewhere in history. So what will be the answer here? Examine, record, uncover what's happening. Understand the trend drivers and how socioeconomic trends are being reinterpreted. Every trend has its ancestry somewhere in history, or 4, all of the above.
Three, every trend has its ancestry.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna go with
That would be
number.
4.
Got it.
gonna say-
Okay, all of the above. All of the above matter.
Pass on me right now.
It's okay. There's no right or wrong. This is just part of learning and bringing the book to life. But it's all of the above. The past is really important as we go forward because we want to examine, record, uncover what is happening. Things have been done before, and we want to understand what were the drivers of when things were done before, and how was it affected, and how does it affect the future? Because what are we in now? So all of the past is taken into account as you look forward and you look towards the future and you see what happens. And you know, fashion, it's so much fun and it is entertaining, but it is also design and it is also art, and it truly makes people happy. All right, so let's get into the fashion trend prediction and how it all works. Ready? So fashion is what you buy, but a lot of you who are thinking, I'm going to be in fashion merchandising, visual merchandising, style is what you do with fashion. That's the key difference. Fashion is what you buy, fashion is what lives on the store, and fashion is what's on the hanger. Style, that is uniquely you. That is how you take that piece of garment that you are sourcing and you put it on that mannequin, or you wear it on your body. You treat your body like a museum and you curate it often. What you do with it defines your personality and gives you that voice, that verbiage of self-expression without actual sound. Style is what it is that you're doing with the fashion and what makes your career so unique and special. So Malcolm Gladwell, if any of you are familiar with the books like The Tipping Point, I love this quote, and your book brings it up. The person who discovers the trends, that person is cool. They're looking for it. They're interested in discovering the trends because they're hidden. You're not looking to be mass, you're looking to be unique. You're discovering the trends because they are hidden. You want to be the one who is distinctive and unusual. And to go back to what we were talking about earlier that Nadia pointed out, once that trend hits the masses, you are curious about what else can we uncover? And while it might seem sad that you're not interested in that hidden treasure anymore, it's because you've already moved on, because you want to find the next piece that's hidden and distinct and unusual. So today we're going to get more into forecasting and trend prediction, the product development process and the product life cycle, how trends are used and analyzing visual platforms. And then next week, we're going to get more into like the forecasting companies. So, any questions, Luca? Why is forecasting and trend prediction so important? The prediction of color, design, fabrics, it's so important that you get it right, because looking ahead to the future developments are going to maximize the success and profitability of your products. Your goal, you want your products out there to be a success. So you want to figure out, how are your customers? How are they going to behave? What are they going to want in the future? You're going to want to produce and buy what is predicted to be popular. You don't want to buy something that's incorrect. You're going to be stuck with merchandise. You're not going to be able to build your brand. You want to have as much information as possible in advance to be able to get your product right, to get that visual right. So your brand and your profitability, so you can be a success. So trend spotting, trend forecasting, it kind of started in the 1990s, but today it is a global business and it spans multiple industries. And if we have time today, or maybe next week, I'll take you into a trend spotting forecast of Coloroo and WGSN that impacts technology, home design, as well as fashion. It's all about what is it that people are needing? What are people craving? Where is the mood of the world going? There are so many factors to consider, whether it's something as simple as your iPhone case or your clothing. It spans so many different genres and everything seems to work together. And ultimately it's a form of art and self-expression. It's a $36 billion industry, trend forecasting, and that's a reporting of 2011. So what is it when we think of trends? What are the drivers? What causes a trend? What are we thinking of? In times of need, people say that people love to wear mantras on their t-shirts. We came out of COVID where people are kind of feeling sad. They wanted to all of a sudden wear sparkle and bling. What is it that causes a trend? So as a trend forecaster, you're going to have to take a look at what is happening in the world. What's the mood? Politics, global economy, news, current event, economics, everything cultural and events that are affecting will affect what are the drivers of a trend. Something that's very big and popular, maybe it's a TV show, Mad Men or White Lotus, any TV show, things that are really affecting the mood of the country are going to be prevalent when it comes to design. And you're going to get surprises too. Punk took a big surprise at Grunge took a big twist in the 90s. Nobody expected it. So those are the things that you have to pay attention to. What's the music? What's the culture? What's the economic? To figure out how can you spot a trend? The critical things, design, color, newspaper, books, everything is going into what are the trends? You have to pay attention. Lifestyle, income, education, these are so important when you're going to figure out what is the trend? How can I spot that thread? Because you want to make sure that you get it right. How long can a trend last? 1 to 3 years generally, but some of them, we've all seen things just go really fast and die like a fad, and other things really tend to stay for a while. But pay attention as you're going out there and you're trend forecasting, pay attention to the cues that are out there. You're in the business of meeting tomorrow's customers' demands. That's trend forecasting. When you're working with a brand, you're planning 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance, a year in advance 2 years in advance. When it comes to color trends, and see, this is a long process. This is not something that you say, well, I'm going to go out and trend spot today and it's going to happen tomorrow. It is a long process to figure out what's trending, to figure out your color story, to sell it to the clients, to run into production, to sell it to the wholesale, to be able to ship and produce. Your forecasting is often 2 years in advance. You are in the business of meeting tomorrow's customers. And you want to get it right, because if your color situation, if your color narrative or your story is off, you're going to be left with the merchandise, and nobody wants a warehouse full of merchandise. So just if everybody wants to take a minute and think, how would you distill fashion forecasting trends into a meaningful strategy for a brand? I'll give you about 30 seconds to think about it, and maybe somebody wants to share. How would you take a forecasting trend and create a meaningful strategy for a brand? Anybody want to? Who would like to share? Ducky, would you like to share? How would fashion forecast trends? How would it?
Yeah.
How would it be meaningful?
I feel like a lot of brands do take into account fashion forecasting trends, but I like, for example, I feel like how it can be used for as a future strategy would be to kind of focus in on what an audience of more people who are young are dressing like, whereas so you'll know like what type of trends are coming to the surface or making a resurgence. And so I guess with fashion forecasting trends, you might want to focus in on what people are wearing on a daily basis. Also with like access to social media nowadays, there's so many different ways to like forecast trends. And like TikTok and all that stuff, there's subcultures and like a bunch of other things. So it just all means or like focuses on like what the specific brand wants, like what is their target audience and what kind of niche are they trying to fill.
That last sentence you said was brilliant. Know who your target market is and design for your target market. Know your customer. So take into account the trend forecasts, and make sure as you employ them to utilize them to meet your customers' demands. Interpret it for what you need, because you want to be on track, because ultimately you want to speak and design for your customer base. So we kind of talked about it. What happens if you get it wrong? Everybody at once. What happens if you get it wrong?
Left with a lot of merchandise.
Exactly. And what do you do with a lot of merchandise?
Nothing.
You dump it, you lose money. You need to get it out of your warehouse because it costs you money to keep it in your warehouse. So you can bring it to Marshall's, you can bring it to Costco. Sometimes people don't even want it. You just give it away. It costs you money to keep the goods, and it costs you so much money to produce it. So you need to get rid of the goods, but you've just lost out. You have to pay attention to what's happening in the market. And some tricks to do it. The beauty of today with trend forecasting is we have the trends and we have speed to market. We have production tools, and those of you who saw in the videos, we can now make jeans with lasers in record time. We have 3D circular knitting processes. We can make sweaters and knits. We can turn things around really quickly. And in fact, you can do exclusives and one-on-one, which you saw with Ministry of Supply. You can now test things quickly and see what works with our customers based on the trends, what does not work. Figure out, test quickly, develop quickly, test quickly, see what aligns with customers. If it aligns with your customers, take it to the next phase. If it doesn't, figure out what's next. Constantly pay attention to the trends and what your customers want, because you don't want a warehouse full of inventory, right? Fashion is an art form. It's supposed to be on the street and it's supposed to make people delight with surprise. So what? Where's my header? Let's walk by you. So the role of a forecaster and how a trend is conveyed. The role of a forecaster, some people, and who here feels like they have it, you just have an eye for what's next. You just know it. Does anybody feel they have that? If you're sitting on a cafe on a trendy street corner, you're just like, I feel it's coming. Oh, Alexis has it. Have you seen anything recently?
So this is like the only thing that I claim to like forecasting, if you even want to call it that. But and I say it as a joke, it's very lighthearted. But a couple years ago, like I was really into Free People. It was like my favorite brand. I think it was like 17, 18. I'm 23 now. And I was very into like everything like 70s hippie, and I got into Birkenstocks a lot. And I got myself a pair of the Birkenstock clogs that now like you can't find them anywhere on the internet. And
They're the hottest thing.
I had people tell me I looked like an elf and like all these crazy names when I started wearing them. And I got so many comments that like I overthought it so much that I just like threw them in the back of my closet, and I hadn't worn them in like 2 years or so when they came back around like as like the hot new shoe and trend. And I was like, wait, like I have these. And so I just busted out like the pair that I've had for like 5 years now. And I always say like, oh, I was rocking those before like they got big, and everybody made fun of me, and now everybody loves them. And there are all these collabs now with like really, really big names. And I just thought that was funny. That's like the only thing I can.
Well, that's kind of why we were talking about before that we need to study the history of fashion, and that it is kind of like archaeology, because we're going back into the past to see why is it trending now. And it's so important to know you bought it and what inspired you then, and what is it that there is a delayed reaction to bring it to the public now, but you smelled it then. So that is, so if you're going to become a forecaster, and I think a lot of you early on said, I want to go around the world with fashion. Well, forecasting is one great way to do it. And if any of you have worked for a retail store, I know that I used to work for several. We used to get trend forecasters. They would come in and they would just grab, 20, 30 tops and pants off the rack and just buy it, because they're there to forecast, probably knock it off. But really, it's have an eye for what's next. It should be inside you. You're going to be looking for emerging patterns in consumer behavior to find that thread. It's the basis of your next big thing. And it can bubble up in so many different spaces, but you have to pay attention to art and design, what's going on with science, technology, socioeconomics. It's around the world. Also pay attention to politics. Politics, unfortunately or fortunately, the mood of the country, it is affected in how people dress. But so now if you're a trend forecaster, how are you going to convey this story? You're going to present it. How do you want to present it? Alexis, you raised your hand, go for it.
I was gonna say that like potentially show sales for something inspired or like similar to what you're trying to create, because I feel like with a lot of companies, they want to make sure that like at the end of the day, the item will sell, because as much as fashion is fun and about the clothes, it is a business. And so making sure that like something did well in some sort of way, shape, or form is really important. I was gonna give an example of, I saw a TikTok video, I think, about Prada and their recent success with like puffer jackets and things like that, and how now they're moving into accessories with like that puffer like fabric and things like that. And because like they saw success with selling puffer jackets, or they saw success from other companies with how big puffer jackets and outerwear have gotten in the past couple of years, that now they're gonna or they have already started to create collections with like a puffer texture now, like on accessories and handbags and things like that, because they saw that it made money in some way, shape, or form, and now they're putting like their own twist on that.
You have to pay attention to what's happening at all points. You have to pay attention to what's happening on the street. You have to pay attention to what's happening in your retail shop. You have to pay attention to what's happening on the world, and you have to pull that into a story. And your book has some really beautiful pictures of what a mood board would look like. And as you deepen into your career, you're going to be able to go to fashion trade shows like Magic and Coterie in New York. I come from the West Coast. Designers and agents, the Magic trade show, which takes place now, they have Nashville, New York, and the biggest one, the biggest trade show for the United States takes place in Vegas. There are so many trend presentations there. Another great place to find it is as at textile shows. They will give you a beautiful representation of how they showcase their stories. They're going to be showcasing to you looks from brands and look from street scenes, from streetscapes, a total mood board of the colors that are popping, the silhouettes that are popping, the textures. They're going to be able to put this to you in a narrative for multiple different age groups, so you can figure out what is trending by age group, figuring out, they're going to take the market research, they're going to put it together so you can see it. What is it are the drivers of them? And you're going to take a point of view and you're going to make a recommendation for your clients as to where you think the market is going. You want to be able to demonstrate direction, and you want to be able to show where the culture is of society, where it's going for your clients. And it's usually on a mood board. It's beautiful and really visual to really explain what it is that you, this expert with the eye on the market for what's next, where it is, so they can then take it. And we're going to get into the whole cycle of how it works. But when you're a forecaster, and Alexis, and I know the rest of you you have an eye for what's next. I know it. It's in all of you. You love it and you're looking for it and you have the curiosity for it. You're influencers. You see it, you wear it, you embody it, you define it, and you share it with your friends. You're the first to wear the clogs. You're the first to reinterpret a fashion, and you're not following the trends, you're leading the trends. And a lot of you, we talked about this, you want to have a travel career. Comparative shopping, forecasting will definitely take you around the world. Who wants to travel? It keeps you fun. It keeps it fun. And just we kind of talked about this, the 4 main elements of trend forecasting. You're always going to be looking at, when you're out there and you're on the streets, you're going to be looking for colors, fabrics, silhouettes, and you're going to try to figure out what are the details that make it different. And you're going to communicate to and from your clients. There's a lot of trend companies. We'll talk more about them next week, but some of the top ones, WGSN, Promo Style, Fashion, Snoops. The mission is to continue to keep your clients in the know of what is happening with emerging developments, especially because we can produce really quickly. We might predict something, but something just flies out of nowhere. We have to keep up on the trend. Is hot pink here to stay? What is taking over? What is the driver for it? We have the ability to plan in advance and to make changes. That's the beauty of speed to market. It's also important to take advantage of and to be in the know, whether you're planning slow fashion or fast fashion. You still have the ability to adapt to the changes that are taking place, and sources will help you get there. These are companies, they're paying attention to everything: buying, sourcing, branding, what's happening at retail. And every city is uniquely different. If there is a snowstorm in New York in April, the swimsuit season gets pushed back a little bit. If it doesn't really get super cold, the puffer jackets stay in the store. How do we react towards the changing climate of the market? And every city, every year is different. When COVID hit, nobody expected Zoom on top and Lululemon on the bottom, Peloton to Zoom Life. Nobody expected that their budget for fashion would be reallocated to home generators. There are things that happen, and we have to be agile and prepared. And trend forecasters are there to help you through that process. That is where your keen eye comes in. 2-year process, trend forecasting. We could talk more about fabric in later iterations, but there are tons of fabric trade shows. Coming from LA, we have the LA Textile Show. It's actually taking place in a couple of weeks. If anybody's curious, feel free to let me know. I'll send you all the information. Beautiful representation of textile designs. There's Textile and Tech Process. Those are based in Atlanta. They show in New York. You have Premier Vision, which is one of the largest textile shows, and that takes place in Paris. For sure once a year, but I think twice a year. But then they also run a show in New York as well to really inspire people with what is happening in the world of textile. Who's familiar with one of my favorite designers, Trina Turk? Trina Turk, Los Angeles. I heard her talk a couple of years ago, and the first thing she said was, I let the fabric lead me. That is often the first place that people are going when they hear their trends and you hear your forecast. They're going to let the fabric determine how you're going to build your collection. So these are the steps as you're building your story. You're thinking 2 years in advance. You're going to be sourcing trade shows, going around the world, picking the fabrications that you like, figuring out how are you going to weave the story together. You've done so much market research. You're going to create your trend board, your mood board, your presentation. You're going to showcase it to your clients. And the hope and the ideal is that what you come out with as a trend forecaster and the multiple companies that are out there also trend forecasting, there should be some cohesion, some symmetry between the various different trend forecasters out there to show that you're really right, that you really nailed it. If 5 or 6 different companies come out with completely disparate reports, completely incongruous, well, then what really is right? So you kind of want to make sure you get it right. And be fluid in your art. Has anybody heard the term cool hunting? Let's see, who haven't we heard from? Who would like to read the term cool hunting? Neely, you want to take it? It's just an explanation of what is cool hunting.
Yeah, sure. It's a practice of observing street fashion in cities such as New York, London, and Tokyo to capture what is emerging from those people considered to be innovative consumers. Cool represents what mainstream seeks to have.
Mm-hmm. Who here feels like they're a cool hunter? I think all your hands should go up. I think everyone here is observing what's going on in fashion, on the big cities, on TV. It's cool. It's really cool. And you're here in the business of fashion, representing what mainstream is about to desire. You are about to lead the market with your merchandising and your visual representation. You are going to guide them to where they want to go, because people don't know. Fashion makes people so happy. You can be the head dermatologist for Cedars-Sinai, New York, and you're about to give the greatest presentation of your life in Stockholm. What you wear will change the dynamic of your emotions, and you can own the stage, but you, as the fashion trend forecasters and merchandising, are going to empower them with what they should wear to live their best life, to be their most success. And you are there spotting that trend and teaching them, informing them, and making the mainstream aware of how to be cool with dressing. Okay, let's watch a little video. Who here has heard of Bill Cunningham? May he rest in peace. Anybody familiar with him? There's a really cute movie about him. Okay, I'm gonna stop this and pull up. That's probably he's an icon, New York icon for New York Times, constantly out there with his camera, taking photos. Of course, you have to get a little commercial first. Can you hear it? I don't think you can hear it. Okay, now you can hear it. Thumbs up. Can you hear the audio? Okay, here we go.
rather sad week with the passing of Oscar de la Renta, and yet it brought into a very sharp focus what is appropriate attire for funerals, memorial services, and it's a question that has been thrown into turmoil with the mix of fashion at the start of the 21st century. But last Saturday morning, biking to the farmer's market down Fifth Avenue, I was startled and stopped, jumped off my bike. At 9:30, I saw outside St. Thomas's Church very elegantly dressed women in all black. I thought, strange at this hour on a Saturday. And one of the guests informed me that indeed it was a memorial service for Elaine Ford, the model agency head, who died last July at 92. And they were having a memorial service, her family, and 500 guests. At least 300 of them had to be former or present day models of the Ford modeling agency. And their choice of clothing for this memorial, such sharp contrast to other people on Fifth Avenue. It showed the question of what is appropriate at a time of sadness or celebration of life, whichever way you want it. Then on Monday evening, the Metropolitan Museum unveiled a very elegant, very small exhibition of the very rigid style of mourning dress of the 19th century. The third element that brought all of this into focus was the death of Oscar de la Renta Monday night. For the rest of the week, the guests attending benefit dinners and balls in New York and saw a surprising number of women wearing Oscar de la Renta dresses. And they said to me, oh, this is in memory of Oscar. We reached back in my closet and brought it out. And I thought, how marvelous. What a way to celebrate a life that was well-lived and created such beauty and clothes for women to wear. Back at the Metropolitan Museum, one realized with a display of mourning hats from late in the 19th century how obsolete the hat is. There were only one woman wearing a formal mourning hat at the Ford Memorial Service. What interested me was, look at the models, Carmen and many other women accented their black pantsuits or dresses with a scarf. Christie Brinkley put a red and black and white print scarf to lighten it up. Other women wore all shades, a whole spectrum of grays to white. It was lovely, lovely touch. I mean, it brought to the Ford Memorial Service the decorum that Mrs. Ford brought to the modeling world.
I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry there. You all flew off the screen for a second. Okay, what everyone think? Isn't that interesting that that is how you can interpret fashion and share it with the world as you go about you and your camera through a city? Kind of catch a trend. In this case, it was through memorial services, but celebrations of life and figuring out trends with hats and scarves. But everyone here can do it. That's the power of the influencer today. You can share your story, what you see on your iPhone. Build your following. and make a radical difference, make a radical change. Okay, we're back to my screen, right? Everybody can see it? Carolina, you can see it, okay. Would anybody have any questions before we move into, we spoke about this, the trickle up, the trickle down theory? Anybody have anything you want to share? Okay. We spoke about this a little bit before, but we'll explain it a little bit now. In fashion, how style moves, it's like a trickle or a flow, and it could go up, it could go down, and it could go across. The interesting one, and your book talks about it, and I just love this quote. We're always much more fascinated with the trickle up theory. How is high fashion inspired by those who can't afford the looks? And we create it. And we saw that happen from the streets when it comes to punk and grunge and ripped jeans and tattered and distressed looks. It all comes from the streets. And then it becomes high fashion and showcases the cause and the mission from those on the streets. This fashion director, Minya Quirk, she feels that fashion from the streets, it's your crystal ball. What is happening on the streets is about to happen in the luxury markets, and it's about to change the world. And some of the greatest places to see it is Tokyo and all over the streets of Italy. You can really see what's happening in areas where people live their life outside. So the trickle up theory is when street style subcultures like punk and innovation, they start from the street and they flow to the upper incomes. Carolina, can you share with us or read what is the trickle down effect?
That's when the lowest social classes adopts the fashion and it's no longer desirable for like the higher class.
Yes, exactly. And then we move on to something new. And let's see, John, can you share with us what is trickle across?
It says assumes that fashion is across groups who are similar in social levels.
Totally. It's like you sharing with your friends and everybody wants to kind of jump in. So this is what's called the trend cycle. This is how the trend forecasters in your capacity, today we're all trend forecasters. This is what's going to happen, how you bring it to market. And I pop this arrow in here so you know, where do we start in the trend cycle? Where do things kind of start? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to figure out what are the trends. You're going to share that with your clients. The clients, in this case, can be the textile manufacturers. It could still be on the first level. It could still be some of the sourcing partners that you have, because they need to know the trends if they're going to be producing fabrics and silhouettes. They need to understand the colors. Your clients can also be the brands, the designers, and anybody that is influential in the impact of design. You have your designers. They're going to go ahead. They're going to design their silhouettes, their pieces, according to the forecast, the colors that you recommended. They're going to produce it. They're going to show it to the market, and the customers are going to buy it. This cycle could be 2 years. Zara can turn it around in 3 months. Zara has their own in-house trend forecasters, but they're also subscribing to the expensive services like Pecklers and WGSN. But this is generally how the cycle works. We figure out the trends. Do we like them? Does it work with our audience? You're allowed to, of course you're allowed, you don't need permission to do something different. But if you're in the business of producing a collection, you should know what the trends are so you could figure out, does this work for my clientele, or do we need to reinterpret something a little different? But this is how the trend generally works. I'm going to take it, I'm going to design for it, we're going to produce it, and then we're going to bring it to the customers. And if they like it, we're going to do this cycle again. And if it just becomes a fad, we're going to phase it out. Or if it becomes kind of mainstream, we'll just tweak it the next year to make it exciting. But the cycle continues and continues. We're going to continue to find what is new, what is hot, present it to the clients. We're going to make products. We're going to showcase it. They're going to buy it. We have twice a year. We have the fall and we have the spring, summer. Those are the main key points for fashion. But in the contemporary markets, fashion is produced 5 times a year. There's 5 different showings a year. It's a continuous revolving process and it's always being watched. So we just talked about this. And then the other thing to keep in mind, and we're going to break into groups and do a little project soon, but the product life cycle. There are 5 elements to keep in mind when you're actually creating a product. You know, you've seen it happen before where, who wants to give an example? There are certain products that stay on the market for a really long time, but then there are some products that are so hot, they blow out in 5 hours. Anybody have a brand that they just keep an eye on and the products, the minute they launch, they're out the door? Who's got one? What happens with the brand Teflar? What happens when they introduce a product?
Gone in an instant.
Instant, right? It's magic, right? We all kind of want that magic for a brand. Anybody else have another brand that can drop something that's like super hot?
I had one. No,
Go, both of you.
You can go first.
Oh, I said Heaven by Marc Jacobs. I just know like every time I've tried to get something, it's like sold out, sold out, sold out.
Nora, what's yours?
I feel like Skims. I can.
Oh yeah.
It's always sold out.
It's so exciting, right? The drop, it's so cool. The hype, it's amazing, and then it's gone, right? Like any great artist could do, it's gone, and then other things just sit on the shelf and you can't get rid of it. Skims, a brilliant marketing. Anyone else? Something that you're dying for, like any sneaker collaborations always seem to work really well.
I actually wanted to ask a question because we're talking about all of this and we're talking about like things dropping and selling out like immediately. Do you think that this is like a fad or like a trend in itself within fashion and retailing, that all these companies like create product and create hype so that the website is completely wiped like minutes or seconds after? Because I want to be able to like buy Skims or buy whatever I want when I want and not like on their terms, and like putting on a timer and sitting by my computer and hoping that like, you know, I can check out before the next person does, and then, you know, my items are gone, and then I have to wait like however long it takes for production to put out like a new launch in like however many months that might take.
That falls under, I think it's more marketing buzz and blitz and excitement and the idea of building a brand. A fad would die. But in this case, it didn't die. It just generates even more excitement and you can't wait to have it again. And it does force you to go to the computer and build up that demand and that excitement. So it's much more about buzz and excitement and building a global brand. And you don't want to be stuck with inventory, right? You don't want to be stuck with excess. You want to create exactly the right amount for your customer and to not have any excess. And then you want to keep being novel and new. It doesn't die out. The demand is still there. The fad dies out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then I feel like we could talk about this for a long time, because then we can get into like reselling of these things that sell out and how people mark up and things like that. And like, it just, I think that like using the word buzz now, like I understand it more, because I feel like these brands are trying to like almost compete with like the marketing strategies of like major fashion houses. And that's like in a way that helps them be just as successful as like these large houses, and for them like holding on to product would almost be like a loss. So this new strategy of marketing is benefiting business more. But
which is the goal.
right, but then
Right.
like the consumer is struggling because things just keep going up in price then when you think about like resellers and things like that, and it creates this image of like the item being sold being something unattainable or like a status symbol, the way that like having a Chanel bag, you know, is in its own sense and way of things.
Mhm.
Welcome
Totally.
to capitalism.
Welcome to capitalism. Exactly. It's all great business and it works. So go for it. I didn't see who said that, but thank you.
It was me. It was me, Ducky.
Oh, okay. You're off screen. Cool. All right. So here's just to kind of share how it works. Because I think that creating pent up demand and excitement for our product is a very cool marketing strategy. It doesn't work for everybody, but if you can get it right, you got it. So generally speaking, you introduce your product. It's expensive to launch a product. You've got marketing, you've got to introduce it to the market. You're not really making a lot of money during this phase. Then you're starting to grow. Somewhere along the way, you're at the beginning of the intro part, and then you kind of hit things are moving along and you're making some money. Now, at the end of the intro, people are buying it, and I like to call it, does it have legs? It's an advertising term. Does it have legs? As you're peaking, people are buying, you're seeing the sales coming through, but then suddenly it drops. Your product's a fad. It doesn't have legs. It's not continuing on. Legs because, you know, you're walking on, right? You're continuing on. If it continues on, if you're continuing to walk, your product has legs. You're growing. And at some point, and you could have a long time in the growth phase, the growth in the mass market phase, or not, really depends on your product, which is why the drops are very cool, because it keeps that energy and excitement and momentum for a brand to continuously go. In the growth phase, you're starting to get money, you're starting to see a following, you're building your community. You hit maturity, you're accepted, but then your growth slows down. And then you hit decline. People don't really want it anymore. So how do you overcome this challenge? There's a few different strategies, but I would suggest these two. If you're designing a trend-led fashion product, how do you manage the cycle? Because you can't constantly introduce, is it a fad? How do you manage it? So two strategies. One is you can have multiple products in line for introduction. So as each product runs its cycle, you've seen this many times. You have one sneaker coming out in August, the next sneaker comes out in September. That a color wave. You have things constantly. When you're actually getting into the buying and the selling of a product, people are going to tell you this is going to deliver on 2/1, 3/1, 4/1. You're going to continuously drop product every month to keep this cycle going. So 1 month is pink, the next is green, the next is yellow. You're going to have a cycle. So while one thing is being introduced, the next thing is hitting maturity, and then you're reintroducing the next. So you're keeping the cycle and the funnel on continuous momentum and excitement. And build the concept into your marketing mix. Basic clothing like jeans, t-shirts, sweatshirts, those tend to not really go in and out so often. I still wear my sweatshirts from college. You know, we tend to kind of hang on to these products. So products like basics tend to last a long time. Other products tend to be a little bit more of a fad. And then some products are very fashion focused. Build it into your overall merch that you're going to have a little bit of basics, a little bit of fashion, and some fad products, because fad always gets some buzz. So build it into your mix that you have a little bit going at all times. So you continuously have a marketing push, and the fad might be used as your marketing. The basics are your continuous like renewals with your clients. Every 6 months, they want a new black t-shirt. And then you have your fashion items, and you're creating your marketing mix to continuously stay upfront as you're building your brand. I'm going to talk about that. We talked about this. This is just another example. You hit that fad, and fads kind of die, but then some things just continue on. and then die in 2 years. And some things like the little black dress is forever a classic and will always be in style. We're gonna do a little breakout. I'm gonna do this slide and then we're gonna do a little breakout right after I finish just sharing with you a little bit about what this is. There's generally about 5 people, 5 different stages of consumption for fashion. And it's not just fashion. I'd say like people who are into being early adopters for fashion are early adopters for everything overall. Generally, if you're interested in the latest and greatest for fashion, you're also paying attention to home decor and technology and anything that surrounds you. You want to have the newest and coolest or the most unique or just whatever it is. Like if I like raw materials, I put it on my clothing, I put it in my house. Everything I have is kind of everything that I have or people have. You have your own unique formula and it's kind of woven together. About 3% of the population, you're innovators. You adopt that product first and you are so interested in its unique features. We have early adopters and then the early majority. These are your celebrities, your influencers. They're the ones who are going to take it from the, you kind of spot it. You have your eye on it. You're seeing it on the streets. These are the people that you're going to see on TV. They're taking that style and they are shifting it from hidden to popular, bringing it to the world. Perhaps you fall into this category of early adopter, early majority. It's not totally in the world, but you're in the business, you're in the know. Then you have the late majority, mass appeal, you're getting a big audience. This is when you're getting really big. And then you have some people, they're just not into it. They're bargain hunters, they're not trend seekers. Don't even market to them if that's not your mission. You probably are going to want to really focus on the innovators, early adopters, and early majority, and even the mass market because they're buying in volume. This is kind of the process of paying attention of where your clothing and your line is throughout the process. Who do you want to affect? Who do you want to market to? Who do you want to have adopting your collection? Okay, so we're going to do a little breakout group. I'm just going to split everybody up into 2 groups. We're going to do, there's 2 different products, 2 different things we're going to do. And I'll give you, it is, let's see. We'll do about 7 minutes and then we'll come back, we'll talk, we'll split into 2 groups. The first thing is if you can pick like 2 products that are a fad, when were they introduced, who introduced them, and how did they fall away from the world? So pick 2 fads. And also in your group, and I'll leave this slide up, pick 2 products that are out there. And what phase are they? Are they in the intro phase? Are they in the growth, maturity, decline? Pick 2 products out there that you feel were trending, have been trending, could be trending. Where are they in their growth? Are they in the intro, growth, maturity, or decline? I'm gonna put everybody into 2 breakout rooms. Let's see. And Stacy, Jackie, I think you're automatically going to be put into them. We're going to do 2 breakout rooms. We'll give you about 7 minutes and then we'll come back, we'll talk about it, and then I'll talk about your project. I'm going to do it for 5 minutes, just time-wise. So 2 fads and 2 trending things. Okay, and Jackie, Stacy, you're each in 1, so that'll work out. Okay. And I'll leave this up. Carolina, did you not get into a group? There you go. Okay, everyone, I'm bringing you back in 30 seconds. Welcome back. How'd it go? Was it fun to hang out in a little private room with you? To know each other a little bit. Cool. I mean, fashion, as much as it's a business, it is a family. It's all about like hanging out, getting to know people, understanding their style. So I'm glad you had a couple of minutes to like bond. So we had 2 groups, 2 fads, and 2 brands in some place of growth or decline. Who would like to present the fads from group 1? Who would like to go first? Do you want me to call on you, or did you figure that out for yourself? Who is going to present? Everyone, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see everybody together on my screen. Carolina, would you like to present for your group for the fads? Who is in your group, and would you like to do it?
I mean, I don't really want to do it.
You don't want to do it? Okay, then I nominate you to pick somebody in your group to collaborate. and
I can
do it.
talk. I can
She's
talk.
ready.
I'm ready. Anyways, we talked about like things overall. We didn't get like too specific in regard to like talking about product, but we talked about how like with fads and trends, like with media and everything, that we feel like they're fading, and that like media and everything is pushing more towards like individual styles. So we tried to look back to the past to really find specific examples, because we couldn't really come up with any.
I lost you. Did you lose me? Can you all hear me, or is everybody frozen?
No, I think it's
Can
just
you hear me? Oh, okay. We just lost you. Did you have a brand in a growth phase or maturity phase? Did you have a brand?
I think Alexis is frozen. So
Alexis, can you pick up, Ducky? Were you in there?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We were talking specifically about like, I think where she left off was where we couldn't really find current examples, because I feel like nowadays there's so many different individual styles because of like niches of certain like people on social media and whatnot. So we focused on like trends from like the past, and we were just talking about like the resurgence of certain styles and like how skinny jeans aren't a thing anymore, or you don't see people wearing flat shoes anymore. Like a lot of times you see people wearing platforms and stuff, but in our group, we talked about a specific product that like not all of us agreed on, which was kind of interesting. We talked about, I think John mentioned it. It was the Miu Miu like ballet flat trend type things. So we were talking about how like that's like so specific, and there will be people nowadays who like it or dislike it. So yeah, that's one of the products we mentioned. And then I think Alexis is back, so I don't know if she remembers the rest of it.
Oh, that's good. So you kind of spoke about the Kid and Heel, the Miu Miu. I think Mugler also has one that's kind of trending. Are sneakers as formal wear? You think that's a trend or a fad?
I think it's a trend, mainly because I feel like the earliest memory I have of like sneakers as formal wear comes from like teenagers on Disney, for example, and it seeming like this kind of like grungy type of like laid back type of style, just from like how long I've been alive, but I know it has been a thing in the past too. So I feel like that has just like become a normal thing, and it will always be kind of like a classic type of trend. So yeah.
I am super thankful for it. See-through dresses, I want to get to the other group also, but the see-through dresses that are super hot and ubiquitous everywhere. You think it's a trend or a fad? Can a see-through dress stick around?
I feel like that one is something that might just be like for certain people and people who feel comfortable with that, because see-through is a little out there. So I don't know if I call that a trend.
It's a fad for the
Yeah.
early adopters, innovators, celebrities, and I see it quite a bit. But will they be on to the next thing is the question. Okay, can we move on to the other group? Let's move on to the other group. I'm gonna guess Norm, Millie, John, you're group 2, and Nadia, I'm not totally sure as the checkerboard on my screen is moving around. Who would like to share 2 fads and 2 items in some phase of?
I'll go.
Go
2
for it.
fads that we found. This is also like from like, I would say like about a year or 2 years ago, were those chunky rings. I don't know if you had seen them, those really chunky rings. I feel like I saw them for like a couple months max, like maybe 2-3 months, and I never saw them. Hold on. Here you go.
She's on mute. Are you, I don't know if we're getting the finger from you. That's not a one.
No, there
We
was
have
just,
to have fun.
my house phone was ringing. It was really loud.
Oh, sorry. Okay, continue on. So chunky rings. I don't know if you want to quickly flip your screen. We have 3 minutes, and I also want to assign everybody their group project.
Okay. I'll just say the last fad, if that's okay.
Mhm.
All right. The second one that we found were like those zebra pants, or like those really printed pants that were also like kind of flared. That was another one.
Okay, I would love to see what both of these visuals.
Let me
So
get-
in my heart, I would love to take the visuals that everybody just mentioned today and have a Pinterest set up. And eventually we would be able to have a really beautiful representation of fads and trends that are catching your eye, and we would be able to do our own trend forecasting. In my mind, that's a really great project, but I don't, we're down in the count. But I think that as you start to think about products that are out there, what was a fad, what caught my attention, you're going to be able to see what catches your eye and what is trending and what is dying and what I don't want to do and what I want to get rid of and what I want to bring back. Did you have any current pieces that you think brands or that are like hot, not in growth, dying? Anybody else from your group want to speak?
The current trends that we think are gonna last are, we discussed the mini shoulder bags. I think that they will last, like they've been here for last like 2 years, I would say. I think those might stay a while.
Can you repeat it? The mini, you mini something bags?
The bag, mini shoulder bags.
Mini shoulder, oh, like the crossbody.
No, not really crossbodies. Like you just put it over the shoulder, like they're mini shoulder bags, like the YSL. If you've seen the YSL black bag, there's like a few of them. We think that those are here to stay for a while.
Okay, so that might fall under common sense luxury. Here forever, never out of style. Great investment piece. This is perfect to have for my wardrobe because I'll have it forever, and whenever I take it out, I'll always be a classic and timeless and perfect. So important to know that and spot that. Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to add about today's class? We have a couple minutes left. I'm going to show you the project for next week, and then I will, I'm going to divide you up into your assignment really quick. But does anybody else have anything they want to add while I flip back over? I have to say that I had no idea how long it was going to take me to run through all this information, and I cannot believe I did it in time. So the assignment, it is called the Decades Project. Every decade has their own threads and nuances. Can everybody see my screen? It's giving me a message that, okay. Every decade is a little bit different. Every decade has their nuances, and some people connect with different decades. So basically what we're going to be doing is you're going to be in groups of, there's about 15 students in the class. I'm going to break you into groups of 4. and you guys pick your decade, what aligns with you. You're gonna create a presentation. It's gonna have like an intro page and then a storyline of what the decade was about. You're gonna share what are the drivers. I always like to know kind of what we were talking about today. What were the drivers of the trend? The 70s is very clear. I mean, the hippie generation, it was post-war, people wanted freedom, love. What happens in various different times in a decade that could cause the trends? We're not going to do the recent decade, but you can clearly see what are the trends coming out, sparkles and golds and hot pinks, because people were stuck at home for 2 years. What are the drivers of that decade that created the trends? You know, the 50s, women were coming out, more popular, the 60s, everybody had their own theme. So you're gonna have a front page, you're gonna have your storyline, and then you're gonna have the drivers. Everybody's going to get the chance to present. I think it's really important, and we can talk more about it next week. It's really important to decide who in advance is going to be doing your intro, who's going to be talking about the trends, who's going to be sharing the drivers, because you want it to be flawless. The purpose of a group activity is, unlike high school, business is a group sport. No, there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. Everybody out there works with other people to get help, to respond to their customers. You might be great at publicity and you might be great at trend and publicity and design. Everybody is amazing at several different things, and together as a collaborative effort, you can develop something revolutionary. Because truly, my mantra is, when inspired minds come together to embrace your greatness and to share, you become unstoppable. So that is the purpose of this collaborative group project. You're going to come together and share, what is it about this decade that you love? What were the drivers for it? Somebody's going to have an opening, somebody's going to present the looks, and somebody's going to present the closing. You're going to come together, you're going to share it, and it's going to be incredible. Everybody kind of got that. This is all going to be available. This whole presentation is going to be available for you in the announcements. So you'll be able to kind of delve deeper into it, because I do have in here, you know, what the specifics are on the deliverables and, you know, how it's all graded. So that's that. I'm going to close this so I can see everybody's lovely faces all together. And then I'm going to ask, the whole class isn't here yet. We're at half the class, but I want to give everybody here the choice to pick your decade, right? You can also pick the person you want to work with. You have that opportunity now too. But first and foremost, I'll just go around, pick your decade, and then I'll put it in an announcement and everybody can kind of decide. Let's go. John, do you have a decade preference?
Could we do the 2000s or no?
Yes, you got it. Nor.
I was hoping for the 90s.
Okay. Carolina.
With the 90s as well.
Okay. So the two of you will work together. Alexis. Welcome back. Oh, you're on mute. Do you want to type it in the chat? 70s, I see it. Okay, Mealy, hi there.
Hi, I was going to say the 90s as well.
Okay. Okay, I have 3 people for the 90s so far, but let me give me a second on that. And Zaki?
I wanted the 70s.
Okay. Nadia?
I was gonna say the 2000s or 90s.
Okay, so I'm going to put you for the 2000 because that's with John. I'm going to put all of this also. Everybody has the group chat link. Not the group chat link, the group Google Doc. I can get you the link. I can drop it in. I'm going to put this on the group, like the Google share file that we all have. I could drop the link in here right now if anybody wants to hang on. I'm just going to put everything in the, everybody gets the announcements, right? So anybody that does not receive the communication? Okay, I'm going to put the link to the Google Doc in the announcements, and then everybody can just type into that Google Doc, whatever you want, your contact information and anything you want anybody to be seen. I'm going to put it in the announcements right after this class is over. So John and Nadia, you're both 2000. Nor, Carolina, and Mealy, the three of you can work on the 90s. Because we have other people that are not here, so that's fine. And then the 70s, Alexis and Ducky. Okay, is there anybody here who did not get a partner? I should have asked somebody to type this in here. It's okay, I got it. I'm gonna put everything in the announcements. Anybody here not have a partner? Anybody have any questions?
I have one question, but it's not about the project.
Do you want to hang on the phone after on the
Yeah.
Zoom afterwards? Okay. Anybody else want to hang on Zoom afterwards? I don't want to hold anybody. It is past your bedtime. It is past our time together, and it is 1 o'clock, so you're probably all hungry. Life is too short to dress boring. I give you all the best advice that I can. I'm here to inspire you. If any of you want to talk about the class or your careers, schedule an appointment. I'm here. I want to see every one of you soar. That is my purpose. That is my goal. I've been doing this for 20 years and I love it, and I'm giving it all back. So take it, take it, take it. To your success, have a great week. I'm here for you. Check your announcements, so I'll get everything written out for you today. Any questions? I'm here for you. Nor, stick on the line. Anybody else want to talk? I'm here for you. Okay, cool. Everybody cool? Life is too short to dress boring. Have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up, Nor?
I just had a question about the Mercado Global. I tried pressing on the link and it says I don't have access to it.
So what I did was, that's not showing. So I couldn't, so you get the, I put it in the announcements.
Mhm.
I had to switch computers last night. And it's that funky. Yeah, everything's usually all logged in on my other computer side. So I put it all, you should see. There was something else that came across today as well. They need, I don't know if you're in New York, but the school itself needs models for the fashion show. I meant to put them in.
I saw that, but I don't know how I feel about modeling.
It's very empowering. A friend of mine has a fashion runway show called Love Your Body, and it's truly about everybody taking the stage and everybody feeling empowered. So I did a student view. You should see. Okay, so you should see. I put hello test student. No, I want to show you something. So I put it in here. Here, so you should be able to access the details right here. I copied and pasted it all for you.
Yeah,
see
I
it?
saw it, but so that's what is like in the link.
Yeah, I copied and pasted the link exactly for you right here.
Oh, okay, so we just show up or
He didn't put his. No, reach out to Ryan.
oh, okay, I missed that part. Okay.
Reach out to Ryan. I think one of them was
Yeah.
one of them was last Thursday. And then there's this one, which takes place March 8th. So
Yeah.
reach out to Ryan.
Oh, thank you so much.
No.
All right.
Thanks
Have
for
a
sticking
nice
around.
day.
You too. Bye.
You bye.